Okay, thank you for bearing with us while we try to figure all the new technology out. We should get started. So maybe we'll call to order at 6:04, it looks like.
Carolyn, do we have a quorum?
That's a great question. We have 4 our official members right now. We're missing Kristen, Jono, Dave, and then it depends if we count Melanie Lloyd as part of the VCC or not. She hasn't formally resigned, but she's still on the books. But with Jono, this is now a moot point. Thank you, Jono. But yeah, I don't know if we count her or not. We should make a decision about that. Because yeah, we would have a quorum without her, but if we count her as a member, then we wouldn't have a quorum. So yeah. Great. So let's call it for 6:04, 6:05, so that whatever you want to write down this thing. Okay, so we are meeting in Holly Hall and on Zoom in accordance with open meeting laws. We're missing a lot of members today, even though we have a lot to go over. So let's see. They don't have any additional items to add to the agenda. I have one item about the Lewis Creek Association emailed me moments after I sent out the agenda. So that'll have to get added at the end. Lewis Creek as item D in new business, let's say. Okay, can we review and approve the minutes of September 9th?
Sure.
Great. Would you like to make a motion about those minutes?
Happy to make a motion that the minutes look good and we should pass them.
Awesome.
I'll second the motion.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
The motion carries. The minutes are approved as submitted. Review and approval of, oh, we did that. Correspondence. We do have correspondence that relates to the zoning permit. And so we'll talk about that at that time. And then we can start up with old business. We have lots of business today. So Conservation Commission membership. I don't have anything to really report on that in terms of anyone new joining, but I do wonder, like we just brought up, if we want to think about maybe requesting if Melanie Lloyd would like to stay with the group or not, because we do have a quorum problem if she doesn't come.
Yeah, so how many spots are right now?
We have 9 spots available total for the commission, I believe, and we usually have anywhere from hopefully 7 to 9. Melanie Lloyd was on the commission for a year or 2, and then because of COVID wasn't able to keep it up. She wants to join, but she's just been swamped with COVID stuff, basically. So she asked us to sort of let her lie. We're like, oh, it's COVID, who cares? But now it's been going on for so long. I think that she feels that if no one else wants the spot, it gives her the option to come back easier. But no one wants the spot so far. So I think if you have friends, family, colleagues, acquaintances, and if we need the spot, she'd be happy to give it up, I think. But I think she feels like she wouldn't want to give that up unless someone wanted to take the spot, you know.
Yeah, maybe, yeah. Is there a way we can count her as technically not a member for the meeting reasons, but then like just know that if she wanted to join and we had a spot?
Yeah, I'll reach out to her and see what she wants to do about that. That's good. And I can also check the bylaws and see what the rules are there. But if anyone knows anyone that wants to join, we do have one or 2 spots available. So feel free to spread the word. Anything else on that? Okay, we can move on to Bristol Trail Network. Any updates on Bristol Trail Network that anyone has or wants to share? I don't have anything.
Yeah, my only one relates to parks, so I'll save it for the next item.
Okay. So let's just table that for today. Nothing going on there. And then that brings us to parks, which is getting pretty loaded with lots of things to discuss. We all should break it up. The first thing, I guess there's just general updates about the parks. Do you want to go through some of those?
Yeah, so just kind of recently, just basic like sign stuff for Sycamore Park with the river access sign and the pack in, pack out sign have both been replaced and removed of graffiti. So that's been nice. The part that relates to the Bristol Trail Network is that Pete Larkin is the new intern for this fall for Porter. And he and some volunteers earlier in the month were able to take a bunch of the wood chips from the previous interns project and put them on the trail. So if you do the trail section at Sycamore, that's like by number 3 and 4, post 3 and 4. So like kind of straight down to the river. It's wood chipped and cleared and it looks really nice.
Nice,
So,
cool.
yeah, and there still are wood chips at Sycamore. So, you know, that's, there's not as many obviously, but there's still a little bit. So still something to work with that. I did check out Eagle Park recently, and like the sumac part of it in the garden, it is encroaching. You know, it's fairly obvious and would be pretty easy to just take it out. I don't know about any prevention measures beyond just maintenance. Everything else at Eagle Eagle Park is doing well. Memorial as well. No big updates there. And then the town green got a lot of tree trimming done before the harvest festival and all that. So yeah. The garbage the receptacles at the town green have been excellent. This is besides like middle of summer and the Bristol Band is our busiest time of year in the garden because of all the bike groups and leaf peepers that come through. So we get a ton of traffic and they've been great. So a lot less litter and a lot more in the receptacles and they're not overflowing yet. So that's always good.
Nice.
So yeah, that's been the updates. The other one was there's a apple tree that got kind of partially hit by a tree that fell in Sycamore Park. That's been temporarily propped up. I was talking to John Swepson, the tree warden, and he recommended a system like a cable thing that you shoot into the ground and then it like spreads out and it's really stable. So we're looking into purchasing something like that for that one tree. Right now it's up, but if there's another really bad windstorm, it'll probably yank out my stake. So yeah, but no like significant damage was sustained. So that was really lucky. And that's about it.
Cool.
Yeah.
Great. So about that then, the sumac in the garden, should we think about pulling that out at some point? Or is anyone interested in just going and pulling it up one morning or something? Or I don't know. I don't have facial expressions. I'm making like a I don't know kind of face. Helen?
Does sumac, do you have to pull it up by the, like, is it possible to pull it up by the roots or does it have to be just lobbered? Does anyone know? I don't have sumac in our yard, so I have no idea.
It's clonal. It's
Right.
clonal, so you can lop off above ground stems, but it may reshoot.
But it'll come back.
But we could, just lop and just keep lopping.
Yeah, do we know how hard the roots are to pull? Probably hard if they're all together,
It
right?
depends on how big they are. Yeah.
Yeah.
My recollection is that we did some of that back in the spring, and we did observe that, the root system was fairly extensive based on the size of the saplings, and therefore, it'd probably be ongoing unless we figured out some way to mat it and then, or constantly be lopping it to then deprive it of the photosynthesis that it needs to sustain itself.
Yeah. Is there like a parent tree that the shoots are coming from? Is that kind of how it works, Helen? Like if we kill the parent tree, would it?
Oh, I think we should just go in and remove all above ground biomass and just do that maybe twice a year, early summer or late summer.
Yeah, John Al and I think Dave Henderson, right? You two kind of went to town on that this spring, right around Green Up Day, I think it was, right?
How big around are the biggest stems?
It's still pretty small.
Yeah, the like mother plant is huge, but all the little ones, I mean, there weren't any there this spring, so they're all you know, you can lopper them easily.
Uh-huh.
It wouldn't take very long.
Yeah,
I think it would just be,
No, we can go pop them over the weekend or something.
right. I've been meaning to do it and just never set aside the time. So if
Yeah.
I'll go early next week, and if they're still there, I will lock them.
Sounds good.
Except the biggest one. I'm not sure.
Nah, yeah, that's pretty big.
I mean, I do have a saw, but do we want to remove all sumac from that garden?
I think it might be somewhat impossible to remove it from the area.
Uh-huh.
You know, it's like, there's a lot back right around there that I think it's
Yeah.
more, it's gonna, like, even if we removed everything in that vicinity, it would come back in.
Right.
Because the whole area is totally covered in sumac. So it's probably a matter of management regardless.
Right. Okay. Control.
Yeah.
okay, well, that sounds great. That sounds great. And then, Helen, speaking of removal, did you remove that buckthorn that you found?
I did not. It's again on my to-do list. And I haven't been there, and my fear is, I saw one, which is why I put it on the list. My fear is there's more than one or a lot. So I'm sort of getting geared up to go out with saws and loppers, and I'll remove any buckthorn I see, but I'll let you know when I
Cool.
so.
That sounds great, yeah. Oh, and then Kristen wanted me to remind people that if we're interested in doing like the next task for the next management plan, that Eagle Park could use a tree inventory. And this is like getting people's brains that that's on the to-do list on the horizon. She said that there isn't one done yet, so.
Okay, I can do that.
Another tree related, you know, it's gonna be about botanist, right?
Yep.
Any updates on picnic table repairs? Were you guys thinking about that?
Yeah, so I looked at, or I asked Meredith and Taylor, the other folks who would know, and so we decided that we can use that table again for the replacement education part of it, like we did before with one of the camps, where the kids help, you know, measure and drill the holes and put it all together. So, but it wouldn't likely happen until next summer. So if everybody thinks that it's in good enough shape to last until then that will be our plan, if that's okay with everybody else. I was over there today, and yeah, it didn't get radically worse, but it's just kind of like bowing, but not enough to not sit on it, so.
That sounds good. I don't have a
Cool.
better plan, so that sounds great, yeah.
Yeah, and that money comes from, that'll come from the parks budget. So that, yeah, figure that out.
Cool, that's great, thank you.
Mhm.
And then the last thing I have for parks is about the universal fishing platform and the ramp updates. This was discussed at the 9/27 select board meeting. And I just sort of copied over the notes from that. Was everyone in the room there, or would you like me to read the blurb from the town administrator report? Or do we all sort of know what's happening with that?
Yeah, I was there.
Yeah, we were there.
Oh, there.
I attended as well, but it would be interesting to hear their summation.
Okay, their summation is
Sure.
as follows. Consider Eagle Park Universal Fishing Platform, UFP, preliminary mitigation design options. Roy Schiff, SLR Consulting. The Universal Fishing Platform at Eagle Park was damaged in the 2019 Halloween storm and qualified for FEMA funds to repair it. It also qualified for mitigation funds to improve the design with the goal of preventing or reducing damage from future storms. At the meeting on April 26, 2021, the select board accepted Roy Schiff's proposal, formerly with Malone and McBroom and now with SLR, to develop alternative mitigation designs on the platform. He will be in attendance to present his preliminary options for review. In July, the town received approval for an extension to January 31st, 2023 to complete the project. Recommendation, consider next steps.
I
That's
don't
what
think
they
that
said.
encompassed, that didn't encompass the meeting, the select board meeting. That just does a lead up to the meeting, as far as I can tell.
Well, that's
But
what was
think
in
about
her-
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
That sounds like, yeah, one of the, just
That's a whole
continue,
routine
yeah,
for it,
continue
yeah.
to think about it and consider it going forward.
Thought the meeting was really interesting. I don't know the engineer's name, but I really appreciated his thoroughness and approach and all the photographic evidence of the sidewalk leading up to it and the platform itself. And I liked the idea of these removable barrier, what are they called? Railings, the removable
The
railings.
railing.
Yeah.
Right. And I left before people were discussing, well, you know, whose job is that to remove them? When do they remove them? When do they put them back? And I removed before any of that was resolved. Was it resolved, or is that something that they're just going to continue to talk about?
As I recall, it sort of ended with the idea that you could remove them as needed, maybe for winter, and then only to be removed for a massive storm if we had, you know, knowledge ahead of time, but that it wouldn't be an on again, off again scenario because it'd be too much work.
Right.
I believe they decided it would be something that would be, you know, just for the ice out, and then maybe, you know, if we knew an Irene was coming or something.
Right. But then the
Yes,
concern was, if the railings are removed for any reason, we need to make sure that the platform is not accessible. So
Right.
that
Yeah,
somebody
there's someone
doesn't
having
go
like,
down to it getting swept away and then we're liable. So figuring those details out.
yeah, I think they said that they just wanted to put like some kind of fence at the front of the walkway. You could kind of close it off.
Yeah.
I think it was brought up that people could just go down through the garden. They said, well, you know, you can't stop everyone from doing everything.
Well, the sumac will prevent them from getting down there.
There you
That's right.
More
Lots of-
sumac is what we need.
So,
That's right. We'll transplant it into that garden.
Gotcha.
I thought it was nice that they were excited to go forward, and I think we both value their support, and I think it seems good. Right. Any other thoughts on parks? Yes. No. Okay.
Yeah, quick question for you. What did, would we be stepping on any toes or breaking any rules to go and pull that rebar out of those totally rotted away steps down at Memorial? Been messing around up there a little bit lately, and there are a few of those spots where the, you know, the like half log steps had rebar driven spiking down into the ground, and they are positively treacherous. The idea of somebody slipping and catching one of those on the side of the noggin is a little frightening. Can we go ahead and pull those out without, you know, any sort of authorization from the town or anything like that? Is that within our purview?
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I would think that it's appropriate to do because it currently poses a hazard. You know, especially, I know which ones you're talking about, where there's basically no step at all.
Yeah, it's just a spike.
Yeah, a spike or two sticking up. So I don't know, that to me wouldn't, you know, compromise the integrity of the rest of the staircase. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a great one to follow up with Kristen on. I feel like she would know.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it'd be easy enough to pull them out if we're, you know, given the green light to do so. I think it'd be worthwhile.
Yeah, I think Kristen was involved with the day when they pulled out the staircase. And I'm not sure what the procedure was for that, but she was there, so maybe she knows more about that. So let's defer and see maybe if you could just email her about that, that would be really great.
Sorry, I lost your last thing there. Had a car go by.
Could you follow up with Kristen and email her about that?
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks. Because yeah, I'm not quite sure. It sounds good to me, but I don't know. She knows so much more about that stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else, parks? We have just so much new business. I'm just trying to plow through a bit. Illegal dumping, Alex, anything? I assume nothing.
Yeah, so funnily enough, if you just don't do anything about it for long enough, it fixes itself, it turns out. Somebody has been cleaning up the Bristol Pond site that we were talking about cleaning up. Many thanks to whoever that person is, but I have no idea. I've not caught them in the act, but it's yeah, looks great.
Well, that's good news. All right. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, right. Yeah, no, and clearly multiple times because it's yeah.
Oh. Well, keep us posted about that, but that's wonderful. That's good news. Website. Oh, sorry. Was there more on that?
Nope.
Okay. Website, Explore Bristol PDF. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, so I sent that out. We got nice feedback. Here it is on the owl. So that's essentially ready to go. The short version is going to go on the recreation site with links to the rest of it. Yeah, we'll start passing it around to the different town websites that it needs to go on. All the links work and all the information's up to date. So that can also, or that will also be printed, and we'll have maybe, I don't know, a handful of copies up at the rec department office for folks who come in and want the whole, you know, it's total of 12 pages. So that's a pretty healthy resource guide for people who want to know what to go outside in Bristol. So yeah.
That's awesome. And then we'll link it to the website,
Yes.
on the BCC website.
Yes.
I know that when you were soliciting comments earlier, I mentioned that at the Watershed Center, they were no longer allowing parking on Plank Road at all.
Really?
Yep.
That's what I have been told, and it might be worth asking the president of the Watershed, who is actually who I heard it from. It used to be don't park on the curve, and now he said no. The New Haven police or Virgins or the state police will start towing any vehicles that are parked on Plank Road. So I wonder if we should amend that line in the Explore Bristol, because currently it says you can park on Plank Road, just don't park on the curve.
Yeah, I see it. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, we can definitely update that. I'll check in and see what they say.
Right.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm just
Is
looking for my-
is Plank Road an overflow of the parking and permission that was in the past?
The parking lot is off of Plank Road, but the maximum number of cars it can hold is probably 8 or 9. And then any more than that, the advice is you should go hike somewhere else.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a shame. I've been to some big like Audubon events and stuff, right? Where there's a ton of people there and there's just tons of cars parked. That's such a shame to lose that resource with the person.
Well, we should double check and make sure that what I have heard is true, because it's currently not stated explicitly on the road that is true.
Right.
There is a sign right out on Plank Road near the parking lot that says no parking here. But, you know, there aren't dozens of signs all along the length of Plank Road. So I don't know what the extent of that'll be.
Ultimately, we don't want to give it advice like
Yes.
that. So maybe the safest thing to do is just to not say anything, right? Just don't mention parking. Just say parking is limited, carpool when possible. And just leave it at that, right? Maybe that's the safest one there. Like the other part's like a polite thing to tell people.
Exactly, yeah.
You're gonna be on the hook, right?
Yeah.
So that seems like an easy fix. That's great. Great. So I will do that. Edith Stock Trust. Zayla, did you call that Apple guy?
Yeah, I have a call in him. I haven't heard back, so it's not urgent since it's not spring at the moment. So I'll give him a little while and then bug him again.
Perfect. Thank you for getting on that. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you. Anything else about that? Probably not. Okay. Memorial Park Management Plan discussion. We were going to talk about this today, but I think now we're going to prepare updates for the November meeting when Kristen will be here, because without her, it seems a bit silly. So she said we'll just push that to November. That brings us to Town Plan 2020. Are there any additional reports on that? I think just, I think actually just the zoning stuff falls under that category. So we'll just wait on that. If anything really counts as, I'm not really sure. And that's it. And then we can do new business. So policy on future, is that good? We can move. We're good. Okay. Policy on future park memorials. Alex, you have this, right?
Yeah. So we have a new form being drafted to try to sort of standardize the process for memorial proposals in parks. So yeah, after doing research and kind of trying to think about what would be appropriate going forward, I think the decision-making process is something we can discuss now. This is all, this is not going to affect the boulder going into Eagle Park. That's already going through. This is for, memorials after that one. But basically the process would be a form is filled out, submitted to the Recreation Department, me or Meredith. We would review the application and basically approve it, pass it on to the BCC. It would be reviewed and then voted on at a meeting, and then passed on to the select board, who then ultimately decides yay or nay. And if they decide, for it to go forward, then it goes forward, and the person asking either can contact the rec department or the BCC if they have questions or anything like that. So essentially, we would handle a lot of the paperwork and coordination and whatnot, and everybody gets a voice sort of up the chain to the ultimate decision makers. So we didn't want to be too limiting or be too, specific on the form, just kind of keep it somewhat open-ended, to not put people in a box for what they want to do. Some, in my research, a lot of places will do like a plaque on a bench or a plaque next to a tree, or like the boulder, or they'll sell like the memorial bricks, like we have at the town green, right? So on the application, we tried to put in a little sentence about if you want to do that kind of thing, contact the Legion. If you want to do, in the park, something short, obviously that's one limiting factor, is it has to be a short message. Then it goes through that 3-step process. So yeah.
Thoughts on the draft text? I was thinking that maybe we want to add something about like all costs to create, install, and maintain are the sole responsibility of the applicant and not the town. Because as written, I could see how people would think it was kind of a free-for-all, that you could just put monuments everywhere. Right?
Gotcha, yeah.
So something a little bit more about the cost burden, and then also something about it being maybe like rare or unique, or maybe something that's special to the town or the place, with or without a donation. I don't know like how to make it just, to make it limited in some way, I guess.
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the sort of judgment call part, right? Like,
Right.
So if somebody wants to put a memorial on a bench, for their third goldfish,
Right,
because they're very important to their family, it becomes awkward for us to say, like, actually that's not important enough to
Right.
warrant. So that's where, like, so a sentence that connects the person being honored and the park, that has to be like a seamless sort of thing. If it's not, then we have our, we're within our rights to just kind of say, I'm sorry, this is not the type of memorial that you're looking for. I'd suggest looking elsewhere. So I think on the other side is describe, sorry, we don't all have this in front of us, but what did I put? Describe the significance of the chosen location to the person above. So, the name of the person you're honoring and what's the significance of the park to the person. So hopefully that line will give us something like Dave did for us at the meeting, right? Like that was a good example.
Maybe something though could connect back with, as
Yeah.
Paul found decisions should be made.
Yeah.
Maybe it could be made about the connection to the town or the
Yeah.
place or something.
Sure.
Somehow connect that without the discretion with those caveats.
Sure,
Or
sure,
what, what would the town board be approving? Would be something about why or something,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
Like you said, we don't want goldfish plaques,
Right,
right?
yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's a really tricky call. I don't know how you write that.
Mhm. Yeah, it's also like, again, knowing the size of Bristol and the frequency with which this might happen, I think there can be some parts put on in-person discussions. So something like,
Right, and you could even say like, oh, subject to discussion.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So like, somehow it's like a
Exactly.
message,
yeah, exactly. It doesn't all need to be 100%, sort of cleared in the paperwork. It can be, come to the meeting, explain it, because a lot of times people don't really have, the words necessarily to put it on this much paper. So
Right.
it's easier for them to explain it at a meeting or come to the rec office and
Right.
explain what they want. I think that's
Right.
appropriate.
Like I think
to do.
colleges are really worried about that, right? Because
Okay.
everyone wants their name on a college bench or a tree, and then
Sure.
they get overwhelmed.
Yes.
And so there'll be policies of you have to donate X number of dollars to get a plaque on a tree. And it's
Uh-huh.
crazy expensive,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
So, but I don't know how often that would come up in Bristol. I'm just,
Right. Yeah.
I don't know. Thoughts from Zoom? No Zoom thoughts. Okay. I saw a thumbs up though. That's good. Okay, anything else on that, on memorials, plaques? Okay, great. Emerald Ash Borer coming back onto the agenda.
Yeah, so it's past September, so that the flight season is over. We don't have a lot of big updates going forward. Essentially, what's on the docket next is to go through the village trees. This would be probably either a volunteer from the group or me. It's fine to just go through the village trees and find which trees have progressed or which have gotten worse, essentially. So each tree that we've documented has a rating, good, fair, poor, or like really, really bad. So now is a decent time. Leaves are kind of almost all the way down, but you can tell the trees that are totally barren and have had no leaves, those are pretty far along, like the one on North Street. Kind of near the library is a good example of one that's in quite bad shape. And then the one on the town green, that's kind of sort of right across from the gas station. That's the one that has been treated. But it does show about 50% canopy loss. And so it doesn't look great, but we also know that is going to hopefully not get worse. Well, we know it's not going to get worse, so that's a good sign. And once we sort of figure out which trees have progressed quickly in the wrong direction, we sort of order our list, and then we work with the town they remove the ones that they can remove, and then we start contracting out and start looking for bids to remove the others. So there's another sort of larger part of the process that some people have suggested, community members have suggested, and wanting to basically form a volunteer group to help replant new trees in Bristol, not just related to EAB, but just in general. So that would be really great. I've talked to John about it, John Swepston, he's interested. He wants to help out as much as he can. He's obviously really busy, and it's a very seasonal type of thing that you can do. But we'd love to get that group up and running as soon as possible, just so that we can kind of get coordinated, and then, at the best time of year, plant new trees. The suggested, way of going about it, especially everybody obviously is protective of their own trees and the trees that are near them and trees that they like. So the idea is to start planting new trees before you start removing old trees, so that you can have the good thing first and then say, okay, this is your new tree. This is, going to be there for the next 50 to 100 years. Now we have to say goodbye to the old tree, and that sort of softens the blow. We at least like to get that rolling, and not just be the take it away and you'll just have to be patient kind of group. So that's about it. Unfortunately, just from a statewide perspective, emerald ash borer is continuing to spread. So it's not going away. The silver lining is that we're dealing with it now, rather than, we could be years behind. So we didn't deny that it was here. It was confirmed, but other places are popping up, Middlebury and stuff like that. So it'll just continue to be a topic in Vermont for quite a few more years. So yeah.
Well, thank you.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Anything else? Any questions about emerald ash borer? Okay. Cool. All right, well, thanks.
Mhm.
And let's see, that's it. I'm going to move that up onto the agenda. That'll like start coming up every time. Is that
Mhm.
correct? I think you said you wanted to table it until now, and then it goes back on.
Yeah, we can't really do any removals. But yeah, I'd like to hopefully be able to keep updating with the tree planting group.
That sounds great.
Cool.
Do you want me to add as emerald ash borer / tree planting?
Yeah, we can do that. Yeah, that'd be cool.
Okay. Well, it looks like I spelled painting. If that's how it is on the agenda, then I'll go by. All right. New business C zoning permit 20027. So there were a lot of correspondence items about this, and Zayla, since there were I think 3 official communications on that, or 4, you can attach all of those as correspondence to the agenda, to the minutes. So you don't have to write everything.
Yeah.
Kristen told me that was like a
Yeah.
pro tip. So you don't have to rewrite everything out. Otherwise you're taking notes like crazy. No worries. So Barrett, to summarize, and unfortunately, Kristen Underwood wanted to be here for the meeting, but is not able to, and Randy Durant wanted to be here, but was unable to, and Dave Henderson wanted to be here and was able to, because they want to talk about this issue, but they're not able to be here. So I have some emails that with thoughts that people wanted to share that I could talk about.
Can I interrupt you? Given that 3 people who very much want to talk about this, who may know a lot more than at least I do, why don't we table this until they can be here?
Because there is one point that wanted attention on this, I think, for now, to get the ball rolling for next month. So yes. So although I mean, if someone wants to table it, Robert's rules, I think you can table it if you want to make a motion to table. But I think there's one thing that Kristen wanted to get rolling for next month.
Okay, well, why don't we just talk about that one thing then?
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, I was trying to get to that. Yeah. So
But sorry, before you even go ahead, why are we involved in this? Why is the Bristol Conservation Commission involved in a zoning board issue?
Because I think it has to do with the floodplain, which is something that we had pushed for to be have stronger language in the town plan. And then the Conservation Commission is specifically assigned to those tasks in the town plan, in the 2020 town plan.
So it sounds as though the Bristol Conservation Commission proposed better clarity in what flood zones are. But does that mean we're now responsible for
I have that wording.
approving
Oh, no, that's not the intent, no.
Well, but that's exactly what we're being asked to do.
No, the point of bringing all of this up and to talk about this isn't to change the permit, isn't to get angry about it. It's just to say, how can we improve communication about future floodwater planning, so that we make sure the process is as open as possible and people have the resources they need and can use our expertise to make decisions in the future, I think. And so the town plan includes the following relevant policies, which Krista had listed. And in particular, the Conservation Commission on page 131 is sort of given the goal of having this implementing the action of consider river corridor conservation and protection measures to decrease flood erosion losses and increase flood resiliency and discourage additional infrastructure in the river corridor area. And that is assigned to the Planning Commission, Conservation Commission, and the Select Board. And so I think that that is the idea why it would be nice if we could talk to the Planning Commission and the Select Board to have a discussion. We just were asking to have a discussion about maybe having more clear and transparent zoning procedures for future proposed activities on riverside properties. And Kirsten says she'd be willing to draft such a letter for us to read over for the November meeting. And that's my understanding of what they would like to do, is just use this as an opportunity to say, what has happened? How can we learn from this? And what can we do going forward? One of the suggestions that Kristen had was to possibly create a working group of the Planning Commission with the representative of the Bristol Conservation Commission, which Kristen Underwood said she would volunteer for, and a representative from the Select Board. And then she said she would like to lay out a procedure to have more guidance and clarity for the zoning administrator when zoning applications come up that are proposed as riverside structures or activities. So that these three people, one from each of those committees, could have a working group to help when these cases come up in the future. And I think that's what she was envisioning we could think about. And I think she hopes that we would embrace that idea. So this doesn't happen in the future. I think that there's question marks and no one knows what to do and the communication isn't there, I think. What do you think?
So I felt that FEMA is the organization that determines what is a flood zone and what is not. I don't think that any of us are hydrologically equipped to go and say, this should qualify as a restricted area for building because of a flood zone, and this over here is okay. So if we're not even making that call, why are we on a committee that's going to determine which building permits will be permitted?
Right. I think that looking at Chris Curley's zoning administrator letter, he suggested several different ways that he went about trying to determine. He was just told this is where this is going to be built, and he said, "Well, no, I don't have those maps. He did his best, right?" And then I think that Kristen suggested, we can get that information. We can work with Andrew LaRoe at the Addison County Regional Planning Commission, and we can do better in the future to get the resources together to make these determinations of if this specific spot is in fact in the floodplain or not.
Right. So my question is, why isn't the zoning board doing that?
Well, I don't.
That doesn't seem to be our purview, given what I understand about the other responsibilities we have. It doesn't include defining flood zones and approving building permits.
I think Yeah, I think this would be to act as a resource and to help support that, the point in the town plan to help to discourage additional infrastructure in the river corridor area, which were specifically mentioned on being.
But the planning commission has the power to do that. Just do it. They're just
Yeah.
spreading the responsibility so that no one's really taking responsibility. We can all say, well, I thought they were doing it. Well, I thought they were doing it. Well, it seems to me that that is the zoning board's job.
Yeah, I think
The
historically,
maps, they need to superimpose the maps. They need to look at the permits and the applications for permits and make those decisions rather than incorporate a conservation commission.
I think
What I see happening here is that the role of the Conservation Commission, somewhat the way that the letter reads from Randy, who was concerned about the site being not located accurately. And then also from Kristen, I guess being contacted maybe by Randy, is that we have an interest in ecological aspects of the town. So I don't think it's that we make determinations. I think what we're doing is we're putting it maybe before the planning commission and before the selectmen, and creating the question that maybe this really was not done properly. And so that gives us some authority and some seating or some leverage in the process, and not a seat at the table in terms of decision making, but some sense of that this is important and should be looked into. That's my interpretation. If we are to be providing a letter of support, if that's an action that is to come out of this, then I guess that would be the discussion.
It does kind of seem like one way to think about it is less of like spreading out the responsibility and making that wishy-washy, and more about taking input from groups that have a stake in that.
Yeah.
And I don't know that the question was ever defining the floodplain. I think the floodplain, as I understood those letters, it is defined. It's a question of whether or not there was an appropriate sense of where this building was actually going to be, and which it seems like if we've got and Kristen suggests this in her letter, I think if we have a point to make, it may be that such a survey should be a prerequisite building around the vicinity of the floodplain, and maybe we can define that more clearly. But it certainly seems like an actual survey should be a prerequisite before these things going to the zoning board in the first place.
You're right.
Not a picture on Google Maps.
Yeah.
Which I think is the point Kristen makes in her letter. I think I certainly get on board with that. I think that could be our stance to the planning commission and the zoning board.
Helen, thoughts?
I'm good. Yeah.
I think that we all wish that or at least historically, the Conservation Commission has cared a lot about increasing flood resiliency, and that hasn't been a top priority of the zoning administration. And so I think that it's something that I think we just have had, we're trying to keep that fire lit to make sure it's on their radar, basically. And I think this is just an opportunity that Kristen sees to maybe more formally get on their radar and to have just more formal discussions when these things come up. If that makes sense. So she wanted to draft a letter along those lines for us to look at next month, and then we would continue the conversation with Kristen. That she wanted to see if it was okay to draft a letter along those lines, and then we'll talk about that letter. Does that sound like an okay next step to everyone?
I'll make a motion that I think that drafting a letter is a strong, is a good idea for the reasons that it appears as though this permit probably did not have accurate information, and that we have an interest in the waterways, and that we would like to know that these things are done accurately, and if there is a question that it was done in with not knowing the fullness of the floodplain overlays and everything else, that this is going to be a long motion, isn't it?
I don't know if we need a motion to just draft a letter.
Well, it's in essence, yes. I think we should allow. We should be happy that Kristen is willing to write a letter, and then we can look at it and decide if we need to be all behind that as far as the Conservation Commission, and make a motion at that point to approve that the letter goes to the appropriate desk.
I think that sounds fine. Yeah, so she can go for it for now, and then we could have a motion if we approve of the letter. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
All right, that makes sense to me. And then we can have more of a conversation when Kristen is here, and maybe Randy and maybe Dave, and we can hear those voices as well. But I think for now, that's as much as we need to do just to talk about how Kristen's gonna write that letter. Okay, are we good? Awesome. Okay, great. Okay, and then, so that'll be the end of that, unless we're good. Okay, and then the last thing is from Kate Kelly at the Lewis Creek Association. This is the email I received. The Lewis Creek Association is planning to apply for funding from Lake Champlain Basin Program. Lake Champlain Basin Program again this fall to continue the boat launch steward program at Bristol and Moncton Ponds. The application is due October 27th. I wonder if either of the commissions, I think it was us and Moncton, if either of your commissions has a meeting between now and then, and might be able to vote on and write a letter of support for the application. Sorry again for the fairly short notice. These always sneak up on me. Please let me know if you'd like anything from me. Thanks for your consideration. So that's what I received. So do we want to write a letter in support?
What is the project that they do? I'm not familiar with.
Boat ramp stewards, it's providing information and picking invasives off your trailer.
They're located at the entrance to the access for the ponds, and they sort of meet and greet and inspect. And
Got it.
I think it's a relatively new program. What would have been helpful for me was that if they had just a summary of this past season, and what was accomplished. Generally, the program sounds like it's very good, and so I can get behind it to help them in their efforts to renew for grant funding.
Yeah, I was wondering, I did this job in high school, actually, back when it first started up in the Adirondacks, and I think it's a great thing, but it's limited in some ways without the stewards having the ability to spray down boats, which they do at a lot of launches, particularly on Champlain. They'll have a spray station, which seems to me as though it makes it really makes it a more effective system than trying to pick milfoil out of your jet drive by hand kind of thing. And I don't know if this is the moment for that, but maybe a suggestion or inquiring about the possibility of them applying for funding to add spray stations to some of these locations. I don't know if Bristol Pond or Moncton Pond is really the spot, if they have the space to accommodate one, but it'd be interesting to I'm sure they've thought and had that conversation. It'd be kind of interesting to hear to hear where they were at on that.
Would you be interested in following up with them and maybe helping draft the letter?
Totally. Yeah.
So it says it's due October 27th, so if you send me a copy of it, I can sign it and put in letterhead and send it off to her if you want. That'd be good. Okay, I'll reply and say, yes, we're willing to write a letter, and then you can ask her questions about, you know, if you want to draft a proposal or something, so you can just bring more details into that letter, and then you send it back to me. I'll letterhead and sign it, and then we'll ship it off in the next.
Sounds good.
Sound doable? Okay, cool. Cool, so we all agree, we're good on that. Okay. The body language is hard, you can't see my face, this is all so surreal, you know? Okay, and then I guess that's the end. All right, cool. The bells are ringing 7 o'clock right now. Any other thoughts? Would anyone like to adjourn? Would anyone like to say anything else?
I'm happy to make a motion to adjourn. It's great to offer the Zoom option, and thanks for putting all of the details together, Carolyn.
Thank you. Yeah, we got the tech working. Thanks to Ian for recording it for us to make sure it's all set up right. So it's all good. Thank you. Great. Was that a motion to adjourn that you made, by the way?
It was.
If a motion.
Oh,
is
yeah, he
needed,
did. I already wrote it down.
Is there a second to that?
I'll second.
Good. Awesome. Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Right.
The meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
Good to see you guys.
Good to see you. Thanks for all you do.
Toodaloo.
Bye, guys.
Toodaloo.
Thank you.